Hello to everyone who's just joined the stream. If we haven't met before, it's nice to meet you. I'm Ethan. I work at Ezoic, part of the onboarding team, specifically in the Newcastle office, and I'll be spending the next hour or so to go through any questions or concerns you have. So as it says in the banner there at the bottom, please put your comments in the questions box, and I'll do my best to answer those for you today. Mom Van Up says good morning from Virginia. Well, it's good afternoon from Newcastle in the UK. Hello, Dino Show, how are you doing? Humbar has said, please, sir, I'm trying to get approval since 8 months now. At least let me know what the issue is. I will solve that issue. If you send across your domain, we can take a look at that for you and let you know why the domain hasn't been approved yet and any potential ways that we can look at approving the domain going forward. Khadija, hi there. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well too. Khadija wants to know how many ads we should run, use to run the site safely. Ezoic tends to recommend that publishers have around 10 to 15 placeholders on any given page. Placeholders are only possible ad locations, so not every single one of those will fill. If you're using WordPress, Khadija, I would suggest using the Ezoic WordPress plugin to set up your ads. This will automate the placeholder setup for you, pretty much, except for you having to press a few buttons. And all of those ads will be compliant with Google and Ezoic policies. I'll just send across a guide on how to set that up now, so you can have a look at that in your own time. If you are concerned about ads, I would recommend visiting your site, enabling the Chrome extension. Just make sure that none of the placeholders overlap with one another. And if they don't, then you're good to go. Haman Verma. Hello, sir. I want to get my domain approved. When I try to log in, it says the domain is already in another account. So there's two potential reasons that's happening, Aman. The first reason is that you might have created an Ezoic account in the past and added the domain and you've forgotten about it. The second potential reason is that you've just bought the domain, or you bought the domain fairly recently, and the previous owner had Ezoic on that domain. The way that we are going to move forward with this will kind of depend on if you can show us the domain or not. And I've just seen your other comment there. If you ask, I can tell the domain name. Yeah, if you send over the domain, we can have a better look at that for you. Dinusha says, my site already ad manager approved, but Google Connect still pending. So from that, it sounds as if your site is showing a ready message in Ad Manager. The ready message doesn't actually mean that your site is approved by Google Ad Manager, and you do need to check the Ezoic dashboard for updates on Google MCM domain statuses. Google do make it a little bit confusing with the language they use, but like I said, the ready message in Ad Manager doesn't mean the site is approved. Van Up says, could you tell us a little bit about Humix? Our publisher's seen income from uploading there. So if you have your own videos, you can use the grow share option in Humix, which will allow other publishers to use your video content on their websites. And then when the videos are used by other publishers, you will receive 50% of the video ad revenue, and the person who uses the video will receive the other 50%. It was only launched this week, so I don't have any specific kind of data on how much Humix has improved revenue for sites overall, because we're still very early on in the process, and it would just be simply very difficult to pull that data this early on. But it will improve the revenue for your site if you use the grow share option. Equally, for sites who don't have video revenue, using the auto engage and earn option with Humix is a very good option, because not only does it improve SEO, but it also improves revenue as well. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the Publisher Success Manager's role? Is it a paid service? How would you advise us best to cooperate with the Publisher Success Manager? So all Ezoic sites, once they have completed the onboarding process, will be given a Publisher Success Manager. You don't have to pay for this. It's included within Ezoic, and that person will simply make sure that your account is in good standing and will take care of any questions or concerns you have regarding Ezoic. Simran has asked, are there any problem with YouTube ads traffic from Ezoic monetized blog? There isn't any problem using paid traffic from ads such as YouTube and Facebook and other social media per se. It is permitted. However, it has to be within reason. Most of your traffic should come from organic sources. And one thing also worth considering, Simran, is that paid traffic from social media such as YouTube and Facebook does sometimes foster poorer quality traffic with lower engagement, for example, with your content. And if it's poor to the extent that it is below Ezoic standards, then the site would be denied access to Ezoic's monetization features. So that's just something worth bearing in mind if you were thinking about using social media to boost traffic, is that the traffic that leverages can sometimes be of a worse quality. Khadija says, I'm using AdSense and Ezoic. Oops. Apologies. I'm using AdSense and Ezoic. I set all ads through extension. It's been 14 days. I'm using both platforms together. As far as I know, AdSense put ad limits if we use ads more than 5. Well, I've, for one, seen AdSense sites have much more than 5 ads on a single page. I've seen quite a few what you would call spammy looking AdSense sites, which is driven by AdSense auto ads. They do seem to fill quite a lot of ads on the page. So you can definitely have more than 5 placeholders and more than 5 ads on a single page. One thing I do want to point out though, Khadija, is that it isn't possible to show AdSense and Ezoic ads on the same page simultaneously. This is when you could run into issues because it prevents Ezoic from optimizing your website as quickly, which means that revenue growth won't be as good. And it also makes a site more liable to violating AdSense and Google ad density violations. That is where Google will disable or put a limit on a site if there is too many ads for the amount of content on the page. The way you can get around that is wrapping your ads. So if you have AdSense code on the site, you need to wrap that in Ezoic code, and that will allow the Ezoic to optimize your site quicker and will prevent the site violating ad density rules. I'm going to send across a guide now that you can have a look at that, Khadija, and make sure that all of your ads are wrapped. I do want to point out that if you only use auto ads on your site, Ezoic will automatically remove those scripts. Khadija has asked if she can have my mail to send across the site and if ads are placed properly. What you can do, Khadija, is are you an Access Now site? And if so, you can reach out to us via Twist. And if not, let us know and I can provide an alternative means for you to send across your site. Hi, I've got this message. Your domain has been disapproved by Google. Too many site disapprovals. So we see this message come across when a website is reapplying for MCM again and again without making substantive changes to the website. So what you need to do in between every disapproval is make sure that you're making changes to your website so that you can avoid this message coming up. Otherwise, Google's just going to detect that you are simply reapplying the same domain again and again without making changes. What I would suggest you do now is give it 4 or 5 days before you reapply. And hopefully when you then next apply, you'll be given a real denial reason. For example, low value content, navigation issues, something along those lines. And that'll allow you to better pinpoint what on the site needs to be improved and what needs to be changed in order to be improved. And just while we're on the status of Google MCM, I'm going to send across an article that we recently published regarding MCM denials. It's really well detailed and goes through all the potential denial reasons and gives you advice and hints and tips on how to overcome all of those. So whilst you're currently denied for too many disapprovals, you can still go through and try and make sure that your site is compliant with the recommendations made in the guide. I've just put that in the comments box for you there. Mon Van Up says, thank you so much. Really appreciate these streams. Yeah, no problem. Glad I could answer some questions on Humix for you today. Another thing with Humix that's pretty good, or that you should definitely take a look at if you use Auto Engage and Earn, is the analytics. Because we've already seen some questions from people saying, how do I know what videos have been inserted onto my site? How do I know how much revenue they've made me? So if you head to your dashboard and then go to Humix and then analytics, you can see analytics concerning both the videos that you have shared by the Humix network and also analytics concerning the videos from Humix that have been inserted onto your website. It includes a playback count and how much revenue they've earned you. And should Humix insert a video that you don't particularly like for whatever reason, because you think it might not be relevant to your content, you can also block those videos from appearing on your site there. We do require that you give a reason for the reason of blocking the video, just so Ezoic can improve the delivery of this video content. Hi there, I've embedded images on my site. Will this also increase revenue? There isn't anything directly that would say that adding images on your website will increase revenue. However, websites with images tend to do better in terms of ranking and SEO. And obviously, the better you rank, the more visits you'll get. And the more visits you'll get, the more revenue you will receive. But directly having an image wouldn't improve revenue. Hello. So your EPMV is $2, even though 2/3 of your traffic comes from the US, Canada, and the UK. Before the EPMV was a single dollar, but you've added 30 plus placeholders. What can you do? I think it's good that you've got 30 placeholders on there. That's definitely a good place to start. I think it's also promising that your EPMV is already improved. One thing that is definitely worth considering is that Ezoic does optimize websites over time. It's not an overnight process. So the optimization process can take around 12 weeks if a site averages around 10,000 page views a month. And I'm going to send a little guide over about that now, so you can see a little bit more about how the optimization process works. But the further you get within the optimization process, the better your revenue and EPMV will become. Another thing worth considering is, have you got a good cache hit rate? If your cache hit rate is pretty low, then that means that visitors might not be seeing the most optimized and recent versions of the site with all these placeholders added to them. You'll also want to make sure that you've got AdSense mediation enabled if you have an AdSense account. This improves revenue and EPMV because it allows Ezoic ad partners to bid against AdSense ad partners for the inventory on your website. I'm going to send across 2 guides for you now, so you can have a little read of those in your own time. And those guides just run through how the optimization process works and best practices for EPMV. But as I said, it's certainly promising that the EPMV is already improved. and also promising that you've already got 30 plus placeholders on there. This will allow Ezoic to optimize the site at a pretty good rate, and hopefully you'll see continued improvements. Just related to that question, I have 2K traffic, so should I wait 3 to 5 months? My cache hit rate is 36%. So the point I made about the caching definitely seems relevant here. It seems likely that your visitors aren't seeing the most recent version of the site that's going to have all those placeholders on. A low cache hit rate also means the website will load slower, which also means the low slowing of ads. This would lead to visitors bouncing quickly if the content takes a while to load. To improve that cache hit rate, I would suggest turning on override cache control headers within Ezoic. So you want to go to the speed tab, caching, and then turn on the override cache control headers. In addition to that, you will also want to look at disabling server-side and caching plugins that you've got active on the site. And if you do that, your cache hit rate should improve, which will mean that the site speed improves in general. And this can in turn improve EPMV. But having 2K traffic a month definitely seems good and should allow Ezoic to optimize the site at a pretty good rate. I've also sent you across a guide there on how to improve your cache hit rate. Ashley says, hi, the main status for Ad Manager is the only step remaining. Is there any way to speed up the review? Unfortunately not. Ezoic doesn't control these reviews. They are done solely by Google, who have known to be fairly slow with the reviews. They've also had a bit of an issue recently that caused a slowing down to the review process. I don't think sites were being reviewed properly or put into their review funnel. Google have now addressed this and have manually pushed through quite a lot of reviews. So fingers crossed it shouldn't take too long, Ashley. It does tend to take around 2 weeks, so don't be too alarmed if the review is taking around that time to complete. No real outstanding steps on your end, and nothing Ezoic can do other than thank you for being patient in the meantime. Hello, my big data analytics, I'm not sure my categories why. So I noticed that you've mentioned changing your theme. Sometimes we're unable to pull through the category data based upon what themes people use. And that's unfortunately just something that we don't have a workaround for at the minute. One thing I want to consider as well is how you've set up the categories within WordPress. Make sure that they are set up properly as categories as opposed to pages or posts, because if they weren't set up as categories, we won't be able to pull that data either. You've also asked, will changing the theme affect earnings? Changing the theme can affect earnings because placeholders don't always translate that well across different themes, which means they won't always display once you've moved themes. In addition to that, the AI will have to relearn how to show placeholders on the site because the layout will just be different for the articles. That's definitely something you want to consider before you change theme. If you're using the WordPress plugin for your ads, this should mitigate the effect of changing the themes. However, there can still be some effect to revenue. I'm not sure how far through the process with Ezoic you are. However, if you're still relatively new to Ezoic and you're considering changing themes, I would say that now is the time to do so, as opposed to when the site is fully optimized in a few months' time, because that's when you would see a bigger hit to revenue by changing the theme. Hey, Humpy and Bex, I cannot get Google to approve my domain. I've been trying for months. Is there any way to contact them, or do I just keep trying for the rest of my life? Unfortunately, there isn't a way for us to contact Google regarding domain denials. They're pretty stringent on kind of just having publishers reapply and reapply and reapply. I understand that it's very frustrating sometimes, especially given that they don't really provide that much documentation on can improve the chance of approval. What I would say is reach out to the Ezoic team if you're having issues, if you haven't already done so, and they'll be able to provide some specific feedback relating to the site to improve your chances of approval based upon what we've seen work for sites so far. I did send a guide earlier today about Google MCM domain disapprovals. I'm going to resend that now, just within the comments box, so you can take a look and make sure that your site is compliant with all of the hints and tips that we have provided there. Yeah, no problem. Glad I could help. If you're in the Ezoic Access Now site, reach out via Twist, and we can try and help you there if we haven't done so already. If not, reach out via tickets, and a member of the team will also be looking at help. Do websites that get access to level 2 usually see visible difference in EPMV or revenue due to having access to the A+ ad partners? I don't tend to work with level 2 sites, as I work with the onboarding team for Access Now sites. That being said, the A+ ad partners provides up to 17 additional ad partners for sites. This will increase competition for bidding for the inventory on your site. So I would expect it to improve EPMV and revenue. My domain was denied due to invalid traffic. What can I do to reapply? First thing to do would be log into your Ezoic dashboard and see whether there is a reapply date within there. And if so, you'll have to wait out the wait time until you can reapply, and then reapply when the said time is finished. You can also get in touch with the Ezoic team and discuss with them potential next steps should you believe that the site was denied wrongly. Do you think it's a good idea to switch to revenue focused in monetization if I have a lot of placeholders? This really depends on your preferences and how much preference you want to give to UX versus monetization and improving your revenue. If your focus is solely to improve revenue, then I would suggest switching to revenue focused and reducing the kind of UX preference on your website. One thing you could possibly test out is improving to revenue focused, and then track the data for a few days, see whether there's kind of any impact to traffic, for example, bounce rate, lower engagement times with content, low session duration. And if you notice that there is no real drop off in the metrics on the site, then I would say it's safe to assume that the visitors haven't felt any kind of negative effect of moving to revenue focused versions of your site. If you notice that there was drop offs in kind of high quality traffic via enabling the revenue focused option, then you might consider moving back to what you were using before. But ultimately, it just depends on your preferences and how quickly you'd like the site to improve revenue. between different niches and countries, which one do you think impacts EPMV the most? It's a difficult question. I think if I had to give an answer off the top of my head, I would say countries. The traffic that you've got, as you mentioned, was 2/3 from USA, Canada, and the UK. I would say that you're in a good place for EPMV with that kind of traffic, definitely. Any more questions, guys, or comments, please drop them in the comments box there, and I will do my best to answer them for you. I'll give it a few more, and if we don't get any more questions, then I'll end this session for today. But yeah, like I said, drop some comments in there if you've got any remaining, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. All right, guys, we haven't had any more questions, so I'm going to finish off the session for today. Thanks everyone for coming and for your questions. Take care, and we'll see you soon.